So a little over a week ago, I went out and took this photograph. Now, it's a style of photography that I actually really like. It's just not one that I've really done an awful lot of. So today we've come out to Spain Point and we're going to have another go. There's a lot of groins, a lot of posts around here. The tide is roughly halfway in, so we've got a little bit of time to do this. So let's get stuck in. Let's see if we can't do some more minimal fine art style black and white long exposure photography with the OM1 and the Live ND feature. So as you can probably see, it's a very crisp and clear day. There's a bit of a breeze about, but not too much that I'm going to be concerned about the camera shaking about. My main problem, as you can probably see, is the sun. It's there, and it's really irritating me right now, but, well, we can live with it. So I have a 10-stop, a 6-stop, and a polarizing filter on the front of the camera. That is just slowing the shutter speed down a little bit, and I've also thrown ND64 on the camera, so we've got an awful lot of stops of filters playing with right now. So I'm down at f8, which is giving me 60 seconds at ISO 200, and I'm overexposing this by a stop. So I'm going to go ahead using my trusty 2-second silent shutter, and there we go. So the camera is now going to take a photograph over a minute, which should smooth out the water, and hopefully I'm going to be able to play with the horizon and blend it in there. I need to look that way now. So what is it about this kind of photography that I like so much? Well, when I first picked up a camera, I was instantly and immediately drawn to long exposures, and that's something that hasn't ever really gone away. The only problem is I've never really known what to do with it, aside from making waterfalls look silky smooth, which looks fun. What can you do with it? And to me, long exposure photography is, to me, it falls in art, okay? It's not really a photograph because you're not really photographing the moment as it was. You're photographing a period of time, which to me tends to maybe lead more into art, like I've said. And this kind of photography where you're manipulating the horizon, you're blending things in, and you've literally just got the subject there surrounded by essentially a lot of negative space, again, to me, falls in the bracket of fine art. Now, fine art is probably a subject that could define a lot of things, and it probably means different things to different people. But for me, a singular subject surrounded by a lot of negative space is something that I would like hanging from my wall. And that's why I'm trying to lean more into this fine art kind of photography. I just think it looks fun. So we've moved a little ways down the beach now, and we've come across the next set of groins, the next set of posts. I believe these are all remains of old piers from the Second World War. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe it may be something to do with that. But the beautiful thing about this place, and why I keep coming back to these same groins, this same location, different times of day, different tides, always gives a different kind of photograph. I've photographed these posts at sunrise and got reasonable looking results. But like I say, the long exposure photography I've done in the past, I've never really had a goal with it. And now I'm hoping we've kind of got there. So at the same kind of shooting settings before and the same filters on. So we've got a 10-stop, a 6-stop, and the polarizer. The polarizer's rotated, just taking some of the shininess off of the water, I see. Very harsh sunlight, just taking some shine off of the water. 60 seconds. We're now down at f4.5, which is overexposing by a stop. I like to overexpose by a stop, purely because the post is so dark against everything else. It just allows a little bit more shadow detail to come in there. There is no sky to speak of, it's essentially just a blue blanket. And well, the water, it doesn't really matter because we're not really going for any texture, we're just smoothing and flattening it out. So again, you might as well shoot overexposing, get some more detail in the shadows. So 60 seconds, f4.5, ISO 200, 1 stop overexposed. Again, the 2-second silent shutter, because that is how the Live ND works on this camera. It's all essentially computational photography, so the camera's just taking a crap load of photos one after another, and it gives the look of that long exposure. It's a little bit like stacking star trails or light trails on the computer. Do you know where you take a single photograph and another single photograph and eventually all the lines and dots, they all join together? It's essentially what the camera's doing, only it's doing it for me, which is great, because I'm a bit lazy in Photoshop. Here's a photograph. So this area of beach that I'm on now spends most of its day several feet under the North Sea, but the tide is now at low tide, which has presented some new opportunities. There are some groins that you can never really get all that close to that have now reappeared from the North Sea. We're going to have a little walk over to them and just see if there's anything that we can maybe do with those. It's a new subject, it's a familiar place, different time of day, different tide. Like I say, this is why I keep coming back to the same place at different times of day, different weather conditions. Something new always appears when you come down here. Let's go look at some of these groins that have just appeared from the North Sea. So here we are, and this one over here, this really big one, just poking out roughly on that third of the screen. That one has really caught my eye. It's kind of really been weathered and battered, and there's a lot of smaller ones just around it. Now, the tide. It seems to be getting feisty and coming a little bit closer. So, yeah, let's hurry up and do this. Like I say, these posts do spend most of their day several feet under the sea. I don't want to join them, so let's hurry up and get a photograph taken. So, camera setup, very similar to the last shots. 10 stop, 6 stop, polarizer. Once again, taking shine off. And, you may recognise these posts from the first photograph that I've taken, especially the bag come on there. That was essentially the front of the post from the first photograph. That's how much and how far this tide really does go out. So I've set up something of a composition. There's a big post surrounded by a lot of smaller posts, but the big post really is the subject of this photograph, basically. There's a lot of smaller ones just jutting out of the sea, but like I say, the big post really is the subject of this photograph. Right, tide, it's doing stuff. Let's take the photograph. So, shooting settings. Once again, we are one stop overexposed. This time we're at f5. Again, we're using a 60-second shutter, ISO 200. And again, using the silent 2-second timer. Here we go, let's take this photograph. The way the sun is falling on that big post, it's really just illuminating the front side of it, and a lot of texture is visible here. I may leave this one colour. I don't know, I can see some greens and some browns and everything. I may leave this one colour, I don't know. There's a little bit of texture in the sky as well. There's a low blanket of clouds just on the horizon off to the east. It's actually, there's a bit of interest in the sky here, and I don't know if it would be a shame to possibly remove that. It might actually be better to leave that in. So, as soon as the photograph's taken, I'll show it to you, and you'll see what I decided to do with it. So the live ND in this OM system OM1 is one of the main reasons why I bought this camera. See, I know we're out in bright sunny conditions, and today I've had to use actual ND filters just to slow the shutter speed down a little bit more. But if it was in a waterfall environment, a woodland environment, out for sunrise, sunset, a lot lower lighting conditions than we've got right now, the 64 live ND in this would have been sufficient just for the kind of photography that I like. And again, that is one of the reasons why I bought this. And so far this past month, using this live ND almost every time that I come out shooting, it's not failed me. It's just been an absolutely great little feature to have for the kind of photography that I do. So like I've said several times on this channel before, when you're looking for a camera, always pick something that gives you the results that you want. Find something that works for you. And again, this camera, it always has. Same as the EM1 that this has been recorded on, to be fair, the EM1 Mark II. Great little camera. But this one just has that extra little bit. It's one of the reasons why I love shooting Micro Four Thirds. It's one of the reasons why I love this OM1 Mark I. Happy day. So I've now got some very exciting news to share with you, especially for this channel and for myself. So a couple of weeks ago, OM System themselves actually reached out to me and asked if I would like to collaborate with them on a couple of videos, which I was absolutely thrilled to do. I'm absolutely amazed that OM System would even reach out to somebody like me just to collaborate with them on a video showcasing some of their features of the OM1 Mark II. So over the next month and a half, I'm going to be using the OM1 Mark II 90mm f3.5, I think it was, macro lens, and the 8-25 ultra wide angle lens. So there's going to be a lot of content with the new camera, a couple of new lenses. They're only on loan to me, they're not for me to keep, they're on loan for me just to showcase and show some of the features off and hopefully have fun using. So I'm hoping that is something that some of you would like to see, what I can do with a 90mm macro lens and an ultra wide angle actual lens rather than the lower 6mm lens that I often use, which is great, but it can be a little bit too everything in there at times. But with that being said, thank you very much for watching today's video. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this style of photography as well. In fact, drop a comment down below and let me know your favourite genre of photography. I'd be interested to know what my audience actually enjoys. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. It really does help the video and it brings new viewers to see my content. And if you liked it a little bit more than that and you're new here, you can always drop me a subscribe down below and you'll see more micro Fourth Age related content every single week. So until the next time, I'm going to love you and leave you and say peace and goodbye.